There's great enthusiasm in our caucus for this agenda, as you can tell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Through the centuries, Americans and people around the world have seen America as the land of opportunity, a place where they and their families could make it. Today, Democrats are presenting an agenda that focuses on that dream and seeks to make it real for all Americans. An agenda for the 112th Congress, a job-creating agenda, which we've worked hard to develop. The Make It in America agenda is about investing in this country's proud tradition of making things. Make It in America means creating the conditions for companies to make products here, innovate here, hire workers here, and the conditions for America to have the best trained workforce in the world. This agenda is founded on the conviction that when we make more products in America, more families will be able to make it in America. As well as this agenda helps us create jobs by empowering the job creators. It does so while remaining vigilant about our budget. It dovetails with the Senate's agenda, and we believe it is the way to realize the President Obama goal to win the future. Today, we're announcing a cross-section of bills from the agenda for this Congress. These bills support job creation by encouraging businesses to make products and innovate in the United States, strengthening our infrastructure, supporting small businesses, increasing competitiveness, encouraging innovation and invention, and making investments in key areas like education and energy independence. Because education is critical to our economic success. Today, I'm introducing the Job Opportunities Between Our Shores legislation to build stronger job training partnerships for advanced manufacturing, linking growing manufacturers with community and technical colleges. There's nothing partisan about the Make It in America agenda. It has won the support of business and labor leaders across this nation. And many of the last Congresses Make It in America bills passed with bipartisan support. All Americans have a common interest in out-educating, out-innovating, and out-building our competitors so that Americans can win the future and make it. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of our party, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Whip Hoyer. Thank you so much for your leadership on this Make It in America agenda. I congratulate you on the statement you just made, associate myself with those remarks in the interest of time, and commend all of our colleagues who are here for the initiatives that they have introduced into the Congress. It is in keeping with our founders about a country of opportunity. President Kennedy said when he announced the Man on the Moon project, if we are to if we are to honor the vows of our founders, we must be first, and therefore we intend to be first. Mr. Hoyer recognizes that innovation begins in the classroom, and therefore his bill has a commitment to education. I want to commend him because this Make It in America is not just about jobs, which is our first priority, the creation of jobs, but honors our first responsibility to protect the American people. Stopping the erosion of our manufacturing and technological base is essential to our national security. That's a very important national security issue. It's about our economic security, keeping America number one competitively, and it is about the personal security of America's families. As Steny has said over and over again, when we make it in America, when we manufacture in America, America's families can make it in America. So thank you, Mr. Hoyer, for putting forth this initiative relentlessly with great priorities contained in it, galvanizing the support of our colleagues, because in doing so, you not only help families make it in America as we make it in America, you make our country stronger. With that, I'm pleased to yield to our distinguished leader, Mr. Clyburn.
Thank you very much, Madam Leader, Mr. Whip. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 120 days of the Republican majority, and we haven't seen a jobs bill yet. Maybe they need some ideas. I have a bill that has bipartisan and bicameral support. Leader Cantor, I am here to help. With my idea, we can break your no jobs bill streak. It's the Rural Energy Savings Program, an idea that's homegrown and American-owned, born among the South Carolina co-ops. This bill has a very simple concept: low-cost home improvement loans for energy-efficient upgrades. Ceiling, insulation, HVAC systems, and heat pumps are all items that are made in America. The production of these items, plus the labor to install them, will create jobs right here in America. This bill creates an estimated 20 to 40,000 jobs per year. Consumers pay back the loans on their energy bill, and the energy savings cover the cost of the loan. This is not just a concept. It is working very well in parts of my congressional district, and I think it will work very well throughout the country. Mr. Cantor, let's make Rural Energy Savings Program your first job bill. And with that, I'll yield to my friend, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Jim, and let me join the sentiments expressed by our leader, Nancy Pelosi, and Jim, in echoing the great job that Steny Hoyer has done in making sure that this issue and this agenda takes front and center with the American people. We have a bill, the Natural Gas Act, that is, as Jim points out, both bipartisan and bicameral and supported by the president as well. Why? Because we recognize that we need to tap into America's unique resources. Natural gas is one of those that has more than 100-year supply that's available for us to tap into. And it's not only made in America, it'll be produced in America, and it will create over 600,000 jobs. It is affordable, it is accessible, it is available, and it is American. That's why we're pleased to support it and be part of this agenda. Where else can you come up with a piece of legislation that both weans ourselves off of dependence of foreign oil, is good for the environment, is great for this economy, and provides an energy resource for the next 100 years? And with that, let me yield to the Dean of the House, who's almost served for 100 years, John Dingell.
It's not 100 years, but I'm working on it. And I intend to be here with my colleagues when I hit that date. Absolutely. Good afternoon. This last January, my dear friend Steny Hoyer came to Detroit to see firsthand the impact of federal dollars on preserving, protecting, and creating U.S. manufacturing jobs. He heard how investment in our domestic auto companies and their workers is having a direct impact on job creation in the United States. Because of our targeted investment, sales of domestically produced cars and U.S. parts manufacturers are up significantly. Americans are getting back to work, and taxpayers are getting repaid on their loans, and prosperity is around the corner. You have to look no further than yesterday's Wall Street Journal. The headline on the business section says, "Pendulum swings back towards Detroit." We've got the greatest workers, the greatest companies, and we're making the greatest products up there. So when we say manufacture it or make it here in America, we mean it. It's in the best interest of all of us. Right here in America, we're building better, safer, and more fuel-efficient cars than ever. And with our wonderful homegrown ingenuity and workers, American autos are out-competing and winning in the global economy. The two top cars this year were, again, American cars. We must continue this smart federal investment in manufacturing and in our workers. And we have the best workers in the world, and we know that on a level playing field, and we're going to get that for them, they will compete, and by golly, they'll win. We were wise to bet on America again and to bet on Detroit again. And we are going to be wiser still and continue that investment. And I'm delighted to yield to my friend Sandy Levin.
Well, I think we can sum it up this way. America makes it if we make it in America. There's a headline in the Detroit News. I hate to be a bit provincial. It says Michigan manufacturing shores up nation's economy. But if the Detroit News doesn't mind, I'm going to block out Michigan and say manufacturing shores up the nation's economy. Durable goods up 9% the first quarter. That's more than automobiles. We have to go, though, beyond the industrial sector. For example, the Build America bonds construction. The Republicans have refused to act on it. Over $100 billion in investment in construction, and construction is another way to build it in America, as well as renewing 48C. So we're going to make it by making it in the USA. Next is Linda Sanchez.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us to learn about the Make It in America agenda. And that agenda is quite simply just about creating jobs. And creating jobs in this country should be the #1 priority of our Congress, and we are here to make sure that it is. Innovation is the key to keeping America #1 in the global economy. We can't expect to stay competitive in the global marketplace without making American innovation a centerpiece of our playbook. And that's what Make It in America is all about. Now, Leader Pelosi and I may be a little biased towards California, which has always been at the forefront of innovation and high-tech development. It wasn't by accident, though, because California invested in its future. Major breakthroughs in biomedical research happen in California labs. Odds are that any medical device you have comes from a California company. Make It in America uses a proven formula. Investing in education and research inspires innovation. Innovation and high-tech advances equal job creation. In my district, Boeing builds C-17s, the workhorse of the Air Force. Almost 4,000 people there have a job thanks to high-tech innovation. For every job that we create in research and development, we create 4 more jobs in other industries. That's a math equation that works for the American people, and that's why I'm proud to stand here with my colleagues and support Make It in America. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Dan Lipinski.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank all of our leadership, especially Steny Hoyer, for bringing this agenda forward. For the sake of middle-class jobs and national security, American manufacturing must be revitalized, and a national manufacturing strategy can help us attain this goal. H.R. 1366, the National Manufacturing Strategy Act, requires the President to establish a public-private manufacturing strategy board, which will analyze the manufacturing sector and develop a strategy that includes specific recommendations for the President, Congress, and industry for strengthening American manufacturing. Now, to ensure that we stay the course, the board will assess the implementation of its recommendations annually. And every 4 years, the strategy will have to be revised. Over the last decade, we have lost 1/3 of our manufacturing jobs in this country, 5.5 million jobs. Americans understand that for the sake of our middle class and for the sake of national security, we cannot allow this to continue. That is why 78% of Americans support a manufacturing strategy. The National Manufacturing Strategy Act passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support last Congress, 379 to 38. I'm calling on my colleagues to pass it again, because Americans understand that we need to make it in America. Thanks again to everyone for their hard work on this agenda. And next we have John Garamendi of California.
Thank you, Mr. Lipinski. We are the greatest nation in this world. I think we proved that on Sunday. We're also the most creative, the most innovative, the most imaginative, and the most entrepreneurial. We need to align our governmental policies so that we can, once again, be the greatest manufacturing center in the entire world. We lost 50,000 or more small manufacturing companies and large over the last decade. This caucus intends to reverse that and rebuild it. Earlier today, I ran into a fellow, Bill Watkins, who makes these lights, these LED lights. And he said to me, why don't we use our tax money to support American-made manufacturing? And that's exactly what my two pieces of legislation do. They say if you want to get a tax subsidy for your LED lights or for your solar photovoltaic or wind turbines or any of those clean energy things, then it must be made in America. Similarly, for those people out there that are buying buses, the transit districts, trains, light rails, that's American taxpayer money. It must be used to buy American-made equipment. Very simple, very straightforward, fits in with all the legislation here. We're going to once again make it in America, and then we'll see Americans, American families, making it once again. Thank you.
Well, I'm delighted to be here this afternoon with this Making in America team. I want to thank the leadership, particularly Steny Hoyer, for making this a priority for all of us. If the United States is going to continue to lead the world with the strongest economy in the world, we have to make things here in America. We can't just be the financial and service sector for the rest of the world. One way to make sure that we make things here in America is to invent them here and to make sure that new technologies and new inventions are developed here. That's why I'm introducing legislation as part of this agenda that would increase the research and development tax credit from 14% to 17%, and more importantly, to make it permanent. This legislation will create a greater incentive for businesses to invest in research and development, and by making it permanent, provide the certainty that businesses need to make those necessary investments in facilities and personnel. Investment in research and development is both an investment in jobs today and an investment in more jobs in the future. Studies have shown that every dollar invested in research and development adds $2 to the economy. That's a pretty good return on investment. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague from Alabama, Congresswoman Sewell.
First, I'd like to thank leadership for the opportunity to participate in this Make It in America press conference. I want to acknowledge the importance of small businesses in making it in America. Small businesses play a critical role in our economy. They provide jobs, they spur innovation, and they strengthen our economy. Small businesses are responsible for generating half of our nation's gross domestic product, and they employ half of our workforce. That is why today I am going to introduce the Small Business Startup Savings Account Act. More entrepreneurs will benefit if they are provided better incentives that will allow them to save money to start up a business. On average, an entrepreneur who wants to launch a new business spends about $80,000 in the first year in startup costs. Entrepreneurs often go into debt to start their businesses. Many even use their savings from their retirement accounts to build the capital they need to run their business. This bill will allow entrepreneurs to save money tax-free so that they can start up these small businesses that help to employ Americans. Similar to the retirement accounts, this bill will allow entrepreneurs to save up to $10,000 per year and grow these savings tax-free. Once an individual starts their small business, funds from the savings account can be used for operating expenses. As we continue to build our economy, we must give entrepreneurs the incentives and the tools to prosper right here in America. When we give people the tools to prosper, they will begin to make things right here in America. I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to pass this legislation. Helping to create more businesses in America is a win for workers, for consumers, and for our economy.
I want to thank my colleagues who have spoken, and I want to thank my colleagues who have not spoken, but will be speaking at future conferences of this type, rolling out pieces of legislation that they have been working on very hard, are focused on, and which will add to the ability of our constituents and all Americans to make it in America. I want to thank Hanson Clark From Michigan, I want to thank Dave Cicilline. They have initiatives. Jan Schakowsky, a Chief Deputy Whip. Joe Crowley from New York. Jan Schakowsky from Illinois. Joe Crowley, a Chief Deputy Whip from New York. I'm going to recognize Chaka Fatah from Philadelphia. Steve Rothman from New Jersey. Rosa DeLauro, who will be speaking in weeks to come about her focus on investing and creating a bank, an infrastructure bank, so that we can deal with the infrastructure so necessary to making it in America. And Russ Carnahan from Missouri.